We have to talk about what's going on, broken umbrella and all. It looks like the end is near for Diddy. It looks like Diddy is a goner. The jury has come back, I'm sure you guys already heard, and has already decided 4 out of the 5 counts. 4 out of the 5 counts the jury has come back with. Now, as you know, it can only go 2 ways, but y'all, it looks like the jury has already found Diddy guilty of 4 of the 5 counts. I saw the body language. I saw the way they're looking at Diddy. It looks like he is guilty out of 4 of the 5. What's the one count they can't decide on? The RICO. I'm gonna tell you everything I saw, everything I observed, Diddy's reactions, his family's reactions, but even when you get hold on, let's stand right here. Even when you get into the RICO, you guys, they are demanding, hey, you too, get home safe. Even if, all right? Hold on, I have headphones. Maybe that'll make things easier for you guys. Even if, right? Even if here, you mind holding this really quick? Thanks. Even if, okay. All right. Okay, let's lock in. Even if they found him guilty out of 4 out of the 5 charts, they have not decided on the RICO. The prosecution and the defense said, tell them to go back in and decide. Why? Because the prosecution is betting on the fact that they found Diddy guilty. They're betting on the fact that they found Diddy guilty, okay? And if you found him guilty of 4 out of the 5 offenses, then you've had to find him guilty on the SMEX trafficking. It is a rule of law. This is also good that if it is a hung jury, what happens if it's a hung jury? The 4 out of 5 counts are already decided. If it is a hung jury, what they will actually do is they will take that charge and they will retry it. When they retry the case, okay? When they retry the case, this is what gets interesting, because when they retry the case, they can put on a better show. They can put on a better case. They can even look at the acts he was found guilty of and enter that in evidence for the new case. Y'all, listen. Do we know if Diddy was found guilty on those 4 of the 5 acts? Of course not. We are not God, nor do we pretend to be. However, when it comes to that, let me tell you little clues that we saw. When they came back and said that they found 4 and 5 counts, it was like a bomb went off. When I say Diddy was the definition of depressed, was the definition of stress, the defense table was acting like this was nothing good. Meanwhile, you look over the prosecution, all you saw was, I'm spinning like a ballerina. They looked like they were, Maureen Comey looked smug, okay? Also, Janice Combs had to get up and walk out the courtroom. It looked like she was going to pass out. A family member jumped up and ran after her. Xavier went after her, and one of the family men went after her, okay? She didn't have an outburst, but she literally looked like she was using all her strength to walk out the courtroom and take a minute away from prying eyes. Again, Christian Combs came in. He had his head hung down in between his hands. His brothers were rubbing his chest. This does not look like a family that thought that they beat those charges on the 4 out of the 5. And let me tell y'all something, right? Even if the RICO is hung, even if they find there is no RICO, even if they find there's no RICO, guess what? It doesn't matter, because each of those offenses have a minimum of 10 or 20 years, and that's on the low end. I'm just wiping my screen, showing you guys respect. Even if, right? Even if they find that he is only guilty of those 4 charges and not of the RICO, that is looking at one charge is 10 years, another charge is 15 years, another charge is 20, another charge is 20. That is, right? That is, you are looking at about 80 years in prison if you run it consecutively. Now listen, they said they decided. We do not know if it's all guilty all the time, but I'll tell you one thing, the prediction we had that Diddy is 100% doing jail time is going to happen. There will be justice. Now, how much justice? We will have to see, but there will be justice. What else? Diddy was just sitting there. He had his hands folded and he was just looking down at his hands. This did not look like a man that thought that he got a not guilty thing, okay? He was sitting there. Let me not look into the thing. I think that's illegal to look into the mirrors of the windows of the thing. He was sitting there, right? And he was looking, and this did not look like a man that thought he had the winning ticket. The prosecution did. On top of that, Mark Agnifilio. So listen, and I feel for Diddy, because this is what got me, right? They literally were like, okay, the jury actually said, and I quote, hold on. They said, oh, more body language. Quincy looked sad. The girls looked like they were about to cry. I really felt sorry for them. And in that minute, I'm like, this is so sad. And then I said, wait a second. Because at the end of the day, the only person that caused this, the only person behind this was Diddy. Not the people demanding justice, not the people saying you can't use people's party favors, not the people that said, you know, all these key stories about putting roofies in champagne and giving girls a special champagne. This is illegal. That is great. It's illegal, right? Mark Agnafilio saying they used the oldest defense in the book. He raped me. Mark, well, how about Diddy's about to get the oldest case in the book? You are guilty. So again, what ended up happening, right? Oh, also, the jury, when they walked out, usually when the jury walks in and out, I'm not saying they're smiling at Diddy. They would never do anything in that proper, but they seem just like loo, right? Walking and walking out. When they were invited in, because they said that the jury is deadlocked and they cannot decide about what to do with the verdict, the jury came walking in, and they were walking in looking guilty as a mug. They were walking in looking like people that knew that they just sentenced a man to jail, that he might actually die there. Again, maybe I'm reading too much into the body language, but the jury looked very, very, very guilty. On top of that, there was one juror that in my mind, has seemed very not, hey, how are you? Yeah, go ahead, sorry. There was one juror that in my mind, I thought looked very, very pro-Diddy. I always thought I'm not gonna say who they are, but they were always very pro-Diddy. This time they came in, and they came in looking angry, but sad at the same time. They came in like this. Almost looking like they wanted to cry, almost looking like they had no choice, almost looking like they tried their best to roll out for somebody that they may have thought was innocent, but at the end of the day, they had to decide what the law is. Now, there is a chance that they already said Diddy is not guilty for 4 of the 5 charges, but judging by the way they all walked out, they had solemn expressions. They looked guilty. They would not look even in the defense's direction. They only went and they sat down, and they actually looked sad. That does not look like people that are going to send somebody home. Do you see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying, right? This is crazy. So anyway, let me get into what happened. You guys, oh, also, let me read you this, right? Because I was talking to, have a good one. I was talking to one of my friends, and they had some legal, and they had some interesting thoughts on this. I wanted to read it to you. You guys, it looks like Sean Diddy Combs is going to jail, possibly for the rest of his life. And judging by the way the Combs family, the defense, and Diddy himself and the jury was acting, that 4 out of 5 counts, they already decided it's not a good thing. It is not a good thing. Now, the judge did ask, all right, you guys, what are we going to do, right? The jury said that both sides cannot decide on the predicate acts. The predicate acts are the underlying acts. Remember we talked about that? RICO is the case. The predicate criminal acts are the eggs, the flour, the baking soda, the sugar. Without that, you cannot have a RICO. Now here's the thing. You must find that they committed some of these underlying criminal acts that are committed under the RICO. However, when you decide that, it must be unanimous. So if I say, yeah, that mofo did bribery, but I don't think he did trafficking, and another person says, well, I think he did trafficking, but I don't think he did arson. You see what I'm saying? All 12 people have to agree he did arson, he did sex trafficking, he did robbery. Now, here's the interesting thing, which makes me a little nervous. Again, judging by their body language, they look guilty. Judging by the body language, it looks like they convicted guilty on at least some things. But think about it. Those counts are, let me pull up these documents for you to see 4 of the 5 counts. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let's get into this, because this is the only thing, right, that actually makes me feel very, 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 a little bit worried. Not much, judging by their body language, but just a little bit. Let's look at the verdict, the official blank sheet verdict, right? If you find the defendant guilty of count 1 RICO, what type of racketeering acts do you unanimously find were involved in the offense? Acts involving kidnapping. This is what they couldn't decide on. Acts involving arson. Acts involving bribery. Acts involving witness tampering. acts involving forced labor, acts involving, sorry guys, I'm fighting with the wind, acts involving sex trafficking, and acts involving transportation for purposes of prostitution, and acts involving drug distribution, okay? Now, okay, so that is for the RICO, okay? And they said that the pattern, and then they said if and only if you found him guilty of count 1, did the pattern of racketeering activity include SMEX trafficking of Cassandra Ventura? And did it include SMEX trafficking of Jane? So what does that mean? The 8 things were RICO. The other 2 things about do you think they committed SMEX trafficking for Jane and for Cassie, that is sentence enhancement. So if you found him guilty of that and you said, right, if you found him guilty of that and you actually said, yeah, I did it, we find him guilty of also SMEX trafficking with the RICO, with Cassie and Jane, that means that when they sentence him for RICO, RICO can be 40 years to life. He's obviously going to get closer to life, okay? But there's more. There's more, there's more, there's more. Count 2. This is what they said they've already decided. Count 2. For SMEX trafficking of Cassie Ventura, did you find him guilty or not guilty? They have made the decision. Count 3. Mann Act transportation of Cassie Ventura. Do you find him guilty or not guilty? Mann Act, all right? Listen, Mann Act is when you move a prostitute across state lines or internationally, okay? Count 4. SMEX trafficking of Jane, right? Do you find him guilty or not guilty? Count 5, Mann Act transportation, that's moving a SMEX worker across either state lines or international. Do you find him guilty or not guilty? Now hear me out, okay? Because we are in the final thing. I just did a live of you guys saying I thought a verdict was going to come out down today. Why? Because Douglas Wigdor was in the courtroom. Why would he be in the courtroom listening to us pass notes unless he wanted to be there to make a statement on behalf of his client, whether he got guilty, his client is Cassie, whether Diddy was found guilty or not guilty, okay? And the whole family around, we saw Mama Combs looking distressed, talking to Brian Still and Westmoreland, and they were saying something, and then the kids all started rolling in between 11:30 and 1:30. And when the girls showed up, I said, oh yeah, they think something's about to come down the barrel, okay? Oddly enough, the jury tried to actually get ahead of that and say, listen, we decided everything else, but we can't decide RICO. Now hey, how are you? Here's the only thing that worries me, and just hear me out, right? It's the only thing that worries me. If they found him guilty of count 2, 3, 4, or 5, that is also guilty of RICO. So I'm wondering how they found this man guilty of counts 2, 3, 4, and 5. But hey, have a good one. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm wondering how they found this man guilty of count 2, 3, or 5, but they didn't find enough for RICO. I believe the bribery is there. I believe the witness tampering is there. I don't know about forced labor. I believe the SMEX trafficking is one of it, and I believe the drug distribution is one of it. And also involving transportation for purposes of prostitution. I believe that's there too. Hold on, my thing's coming apart. I believe all that's there too. So how could they find him guilty of that, right? All right? How could they find him guilty of all that, but they didn't join the RICO? There's a chance that they found him not guilty of those 4 out of the 5 charges. There's a chance, because how didn't you get the RICO? But then again, Diddy's demeanor, the people in his family and friends' demeanor. When you look at the jury, the way they came in so guilty, the way you looked at the defense and the way they were acting like maybe it came out, or maybe it's distress. I don't know, but it was very, very, very weird, okay? It was very, very, very weird. Okay, so listen, this is a anonymous tip, if you will. Let me just get into this, right? Because it needs to actually be said, right? Somebody said, I believe the jurors who refused to change stance prior to the judge issuing a new charge is called the Allen charge. And the jurors who laughed or shook their heads along with Mark Agnifilo, they're the ones during Jane's testimony. We all knew Jane was going to, well, maybe people thought that she was going to hurt the state on the RICO. Listen, So some people think that the jury is too pro Diddy, right? They said the number one takeaway is if the jury comes back after the judge gives the Allen charge, then we want a deadlock jury. Now keep this in mind. What is an Allen charge? The Allen charge is when you tell the jury, listen, nobody, even if this goes to another jury, nobody is better suited, smarter, better, faster, better, prettier. Like nobody is better than you to decide this case. So please don't think if you kick it down, oh, there's going to be people better. What is the Allen charge? It is meant to encourage them, right? It's meant to encourage them to kind of dig deep and get on their 12 angry men and start arguing back and forth about what's going on. That's what the Allen charge is supposed to do. So listen to this. The number one takeaway is if this jury comes back after the judge gives the Allen charge, and the Allen charge is like, basically, go back in there and decide. You guys are the best people to decide. If you guys don't decide it's going to be a problem, just go back in. They said if they come back after that, then you guys, listen to me. When you say your prayers for tonight, right? I like to give God a, if A, then B, but if B, then C, but if C, then D. I like to give God options just in case he's feeling generous, right? We want a deadlock jury. We want the mistrial to keep Diddy in jail because that is where the defense will get their possible pardon. If the jurors feel pushed into changing minds from not guilty to guilty after the Allen charge is given, that's where they will have their chance to go to Donald Trump and get a freaking pardon because they will say Diddy has been treated unfairly. Now, this is assuming that Donald Trump will even give Diddy a pardon and wasn't just like, being Donald Trump, just talking, right? But that's where they're saying he was treated unfairly. The jurors came back and they said, no, we find him guilty. No, we find him not guilty. And then we were harassed and we were demeaned and all these people said something. And now we were forced to change it to guilty, but we really don't think he's guilty, right? Listen, that's where they will have their chance for a friggin' party, okay? Again, just like Wolfette, me and my girl Wolfette was talking, she says, I don't understand because if they found him guilty of 2 out of the 5 charges, if they found him guilty for 4 out of the 5 charges, then they found him guilty on all the predicate acts. Again, it's very odd, and I'm on pins and needles, but I'm telling you, Diddy was not acting like a man that had gotten not guilty on all those charges. Listen, the jury stayed to send another note, okay? They needed, again, the jury needs to realize that if you convicted already, okay, on just 2 of the 5, then you have a, then you have a predicate act for charge 1, okay? Again, maybe the feds needs to allow for a partial verdict because even at max sentence, that is 20 years, and at Diddy's age, that is life, okay? Everybody is hung up on the RICO, okay? We need prayers tonight for those jurors to do the right thing. The ones that are stuck are not going to change their minds, so the judge needs to accept this partial verdict. Maybe, all right? Maybe the judge does need to accept their partial, maybe it does need to accept. And demand, listen, again, maybe the judge needs to demand that they continue with the Allen verdict. The Allen verdict is when they say, no, we can't decide, and they tell you, get back in there and decide, okay? Again, Wolfette would have sequestered their selves, right? I think if the jury was sequestered, it wouldn't have been like this. And I hope in the future the Diddy trial is sequestered. But at this point, is there anybody that can say, unless they're in the Appalachian Mountains, they can say, and even then I'm sure they know, that they can say that they don't know or they do know about the Diddy trial. You guys, this is huge. Again, let's get into this, right? So what actually happened? Hold on. Okay. Diddy seems stressed. There is tension. The kids got called in. All right. Now, when they came out and they said they decided on 4 out of the 5 charges, Diddy put his head down. He rubbed his temples. It was like a bomb went off. Trust me. Again, he could have been found not guilty, but the way the defense was acting, They acted like this was the worst thing that could ever happen in the world, okay? Hold on a second. What else happened? One second. I'm trying to get to the part of my notes. Hold on. I know I have notes. Oh my gosh. What is the notes? Hold on, you guys. I have notes. Okay. Here we go. Okay. I found my notes, okay? Diddy's mom, look, these are my notes, okay? Stream of consciousness. Diddy's mom is in shock. Tinny put her arm around Diddy when it happened, okay? Driscoll and Shapiro looked super stand. Brian still looked worried. Diddy was rubbing his eyes and his head. All of a sudden, the way he had been sitting up high, he looked shrunken. His hands were kind of like not folded, but kind of in his lap, and he was just looking down at him. I think reality came. He was sitting there hunched. He looked smaller, okay? Both sides, when the judge asked, what do you want to do? Do you want to just take the partial verdict and move? Both sides said, absolutely not. Go back and figure it out, okay? They said it is, basically they felt like it's too late to call a mistrial. Mark Agnifilo was saying it's only been one day. They've only deliberated for 12 hours. Why in the world, okay? They've only deliberated for 12 hours. Why would we just let that go, okay? Now, the judge said, okay. Now, I will say one thing. When Janice Combs got up and she was like walking stoically out of the courtroom, it was almost like she was putting one foot in front of the other, okay? I really actually did feel sad, right? Because she's so sad. She's so sad, and she's so small, and she's so old, and she reminds me of my grandmother, right? Her friends rushed out to console her. Okay, they got out and they were walking, and she looked like that thing, how it's like, are you going to fate, okay? Maureen Comey looked super happy. She was talking to Mark Agnifilo like, so anyway, like, what are you guys doing? Like, are you guys doing DoorDash or do you want to go in? It's like, whatever. And I felt so bad for Janice Combs to be that old to know that your son's going. But then a part of me said, no, you cannot be weak at a time like this, because who did this? My reporting didn't do this to Diddy. The prosecution didn't do this to Diddy. The witnesses didn't do this to Diddy. The only person that did this to Diddy was Diddy. And if Diddy hadn't laid hands and feet on Jane, and hey, oh, are you closing? Okay, we're gonna move over really quick, right? They're shutting us out. If Diddy hadn't laid hands and feet on Jane, if Diddy hadn't laid hands and feet on Jane, if Diddy hadn't, yeah? Oh, okay, sorry. Oh, it's Univision. You guys say hi. Oh, hi, I know you're from Univision. Hi. It's Univision. Oh, my God.
Yelena from El Gordo y La Flaca.
Yes. Wow. Hola. Look, this is a, hola. Yelena.
Yelena del Gordo y La Flaca. Univision.
Oh, wow. Hola. Bye-bye. So anyway, listen. She's a legend. She's a legend. Thank you, baby. Don't worry. I need to get your opinion after everything's done. Okay. So anyway, listen. We're walking in the rain, but we are doing it. So, right? Oh, look, it's dry over here. I think. Yay, we found a dry space. See? When life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. We found a dry space. Yay. Okay, so look. And I think it's out of the wind too. Yay, we are in luck. Okay, so listen. So I literally had to check myself and be like, sorry guys, they like kicked us out. They're closing up the courtroom. You know, I work later than everybody. So anyway, they were like, I thought about it and I'm like, our reporting didn't do this. Praying for his downfall didn't do this, because baby, we have prayed for lots of evil to fall, and look at the way the world is. All this stuff didn't do it. Who did it? Diddy did it to himself. Diddy could have stopped. As a matter of fact, if he hadn't beaten Jane up and forced her to take that pill and said you effing or whatever and set up that freak off against her will, he might not even been in this situation. He might not have been in this situation, okay? So, to make that clear, oh, I thought that was lightning. That's a flash. I thought it was lightning. Oh, look, people are coming out. There's Diddy's team coming out right there. That's Diddy's lawyers. That's Driscoll, Shapiro. and they have a poor intern carrying all the legal stuff. So Diddy's team is coming out, okay? Oh, we're in the perfect space to see all the lawyers come out. I'm gonna keep it angled like that, so when they come out, we'll zoom in on them, all right? Listen, I'm gonna keep it right here. We're seeing the teams walk out, so you guys will be the first to see them leave. If I see Maureen call me, I'm gonna be like, Maureen, I love you. Okay, so anyway, he did this to himself, so I'm gonna feel a bit sad, okay? The family's so sad. The girls run into the courtroom. It looks like they are holding in tears. Westmoreland came and was talking to the girls and trying to explain, because they are very young and it's so sad. But who did this to them? Their father. And I refuse to carry the burden, and we shouldn't either. No, because even when Jeffrey Dahmer was in the courtroom, somebody was probably crying over him. When Charles Manson was in the courtroom, there are people crying over him. No, you shouldn't have did it. You want to blame someone? Blame yourself, right? Oddly enough, Misa Hilton was not there. I think she was serious when she said she was there to support Justin. Justin came in with his girlfriend, and I said, Justin has a girlfriend? That's weird. I didn't know that, but I guess, right? Diddy looked stressed. The Combs side looked like they were sitting at a funeral, okay? Westmoreland then went and put an arm around Diddy and was whispering in his ear so close, probably because she didn't want my nosy ass. And when I say me, I mean everybody in the galley, to know what she was saying, but she was bringing him in. It looked like she was whispering in his ear, doing what black women do. It looked like she was trying to uplift him and speak life into him, all right? The kids came in, they were looking so sad. The girls were whispering to themselves, but they looked like they were holding in tears. Christian had his head down in between his legs, just hanging his head down. Again, I wrote, Justin has a girlfriend? That's weird. Didn't know that. Anyway, again, they looked like they had little to no hope, because the jury had reached a verdict on 4 of the counts. Again, Mark Agnifilo was like, listen, I get that. So the judge, Judge Aaron was like, all right, so listen, what do you want to do? Do you want to do an Allen Act or an Allen Act? That is telling the jury, listen, I get what you're saying, but get your ass back in there and decide, because you don't get to just go, right? He asked Mark Agnifilo, how do you want to encourage the jury? Because you can't encourage the jury without put your finger on the scale. It has to be very hands off. You cannot influence a jury. That is grounds for appeal. So even when you give instructions, you need to be very, very careful about what you're instructing, right? And he was like, listen, Your Honor, I don't think, he's like, what's your instruction? And then he looked at Mark Agnifilo, suggested instruction. He was like, this is no instruction. And Mark Agnifilo was like, listen, Your Honor, this jury has been deliberating for 12, maybe 10 hours, all right? I don't know. I put nothing extra because I don't know that they need anything extra. They are moving through this material incredibly fast. They are moving. They understand this. This is actually unprecedented, Your Honor. This is unheard of. It's not much I instructed they do, because they don't need much. This isn't like shorter trials where they can't decide on like most of the acts. This is an incredibly complicated case. And the fact that they've gotten through all this material in 12, maybe 14 hours, no, you guys, we have, listen, so then what's his name? Judge Aaron was like, listen, well, what do you say about the jurors' note? The jurors said, we have jurors with unshakable opinions on every side, and they cannot agree on the RICO. Even though this is grounds for jury notification, if they do convict guilty on those 4 to 5 charges, but they don't convict on the RICO, when some of the RICO are the underlying for the 4 or 5 counts, unless they said that Diddy was not guilty of those 4 or 5 charges. But the way they walked out, some looked sad, some looked guilty, some looked like they had just sentenced a man to spend at least 2 decades of his life in jail. And even the one juror that I was concerned about, because they always seem very, very pro-Diddy, pollen. They always seem very, very pro-Diddy. They were even like, they went like this to Mark Agnifilo when he was telling his jokes. And I was just like, nah. They came in looking sad. They came in looking sad. They came in looking upset. They came in looking like, that's the way they came in looking. It makes me think they got him on some stuff, right? Now, he said, well, what do you say about, he said, listen, so the prosecution was like, how about this? how about we don't do the Allen charge, right? Well, that's what the defense said. Let's not do the Allen charge. And the prosecution reminded them that the prosecution said, listen, why don't we do something to remind the jury what deliberation entails, right? They both asked that they keep deliberating, right? And they said, look at the lines 58 to 50, page 58 and 59 of the jury charge, and look at that and come back. Let's go into page 58 and 59 of the jury charge, right? Where is it? Listen. Hold on, guys. And don't forget, if they do not come to a conclusion, right? Hey, see ya! Bye-bye. So, bye. So listen, also, if they do not come to a conclusion on count one, they're going to retry Diddy only on count one. So it's not over either way. But let's get into page 58 and 59 because I actually have the jury charge instructions with me. And if you guys will just stick with me, we will get to 58 and 59. 58 to 59, line 11 to line 2, and disregard line 17 and 18. Okay, here's what the judge decided to read back to the jury, okay? Because they said you're going back in there. Line 11. If your duty as jurors to consult with one another and to deliberate with a view to reaching an agreement. It is your duty as jurors to consult with one another and to deliberate with a view to reaching an agreement. Each of you must decide the case for himself or herself, but you should do so only after a consideration of the case with your fellow jurors, and you should not hesitate to change an opinion when convinced that it is erroneous. Discuss and weigh your respective opinions dispassionately, without regard to sympathy, without regard to prejudice or favor for either party, and follow my instructions on the law. When you are deliberating, all 12 jurors must be present in the jury room. If a juror is absent, you must stop deliberations. That's what he says every day, so we can disregard that. Again, your verdict must be unanimous. But you are not bound to surrender your honest convictions concerning the effect or weight of the evidence for the mere purpose of returning a verdict or solely because of the opinion of other jurors. Each of you must make your own decision about the proper outcome of this case based on your consideration of the evidence and your discussions with fellow jurors. No juror should surrender his or her conscientious beliefs for the purposes of returning a unanimous verdict. That is the instructions that they sent the verdict back. They sent the jury back with, okay? And they also said that if that doesn't work and they come back tomorrow and they're like, we still don't know what's going on, right? They said they're going to coax them to deliberation, all right? And Comey says if that doesn't work, we're going to give them this instruction that we gave in the Envenati case. There is no reason to believe that another jury would be better, more knowledgeable, smarter, or better equipped than you to decide this case. Get up and go decide the case. So, they give them the carrot and then they give them the stick, okay? Now, the defense jumped up and said, Your Honor, I think that goes too far. They don't need the government to coax them on. We're not at this point yet, right? Now, what he meant by that, and this is the only thing he had a good point, but that's because he thinks that if they come back with a verdict too soon, Diddy's going to be cooked, right? They are saying that, hold on, guys, let me just move over. They are saying that they think at this point, because they've only deliberated 12 hours, it's only been one day. Sorry, guys, my thing. It's only been one day that there is no reason why, okay? There is no reason why. Ugh, it stinks here. There is New York. Gosh, when it rains, right? They need Noah in the ark to get the city clean. I love the city, but they need Noah in the ark to get the city clean, right? Anyway, right? They're saying that with only 12 hours, go back in and decide. You haven't been in it for 3 days, 4 days, whatever. Now, Mark Agnifilio did say, because then the judge said, okay, listen, how about we say, this is what we're going to say to the jury now, your way, Mark Agnifilio, and if it doesn't work, then we'll go to Comey's way, right? Because they said, here's the thing. I can tell the jury that if they don't reach their decision tomorrow, they're going to come back Monday, July 3rd, Monday, July 7th. But if they think they're close to their decision, then I'm going to open the courthouse on July 3rd. I know we were all like, no, but I was like, yes, open the courthouse, right? They said we're going to open the courthouse on July 3rd and we're going to have them deliberate. Mark Agnafilio was like, absolutely not. Because he says that he thinks that it is going to, Mark said, can I get a second? He was like, Yana, can we get a second? And then Shapiro, Mark, and Westmoreland were all huddling together. And they were like, pss, 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 right? And again, Shapiro is going to be the attorney that tries to appeal this and tries this appellate. That's why she's there. And that's why they are giving her so much weight now, because what they do now is going into the record for her future case. So they're giving her so much pathway because, blah, 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 right? So then that's when they're like, Your Honor, Yana, we think you should ask the jury at the end of the day tomorrow. The jury wants to reach a verdict ASAP, and we don't want them to push them to reach the verdict for holiday weekend. Now, everybody in the courtroom was like, no, we don't want to do this. And I was like, I agree. Finally, me and Mark are agreeing. I 100% agree. I want the jury to actually really weigh in on this. Now, here's the thing. The prosecution seems to think that the jury is pushed into making a decision that they'll weigh in their favor. The defense seems to think that if the jury gets more time, that they'll weigh in Diddy's favor. Again, the way Diddy was acting, I'll be honest with you guys, right? The way Diddy was acting, the way jury body language, the way the defense was acting, the way the family was acting, the way everybody on the defense side was acting in every possible side, plus the jurors, it looked like they had convicted Diddy on at least 2 of the 5 counts, maybe Cassie. Even if you got away with Jane, you got convicted with Cassie. That Cassie stuff, I think, is at least 20 to 40 years, okay? Even if you did that, that means that there's no way that you wouldn't find that under RICO too, okay? However, there is a universe where they found him not guilty of 4 out of the 5 counts, and the only thing they can't decide on is if he's guilty on RICO. Judging by the way they were acting, I didn't see it. Judging by their body language, I don't see it. Judging by everything, I don't see it. But there is a universe, okay? There is a universe. Now, listen, they said, and again, Diddy looked defeated. He was not interacting. When the jury came out, usually he tries to look over. He doesn't smile, but he tries to look over like this. So here's where Diddy's sitting, and the jury is like right here. So he'll be looking over, and he tries to act like he's looking at his attorneys, but his attorneys are right here in his eyesight, and the jury's over here. And he'll be like, and then he'll try to put puppy dogs on. Boy, you are too old to look like a poor little 3-year-old. Once you get gray hair and you literally look like somebody's grandpappy, you pay a little boy, ooh, I not know what they do. That doesn't work anymore. Sometimes he'll try to do the, that's what he does. He tries to make, he tries to make some type of contact with the jury to make them feel sorry for him, to look sorry. Today, he's usually sitting up tall and like acting like he's commanding stuff. Even while the whole defense team was like, and doing all this stuff, Diddy was sitting there, and for once he wasn't, dress about to blow up. For once he wasn't barking orders at the defense team. For once he wasn't acting like the defense team was his personal servants. I mean, he's paying them $20 million, so I guess I'd be barking orders at them too. He just sat there, literally just sat there, shoulders slumped, hands kind of like in his lap, and just looking down. He didn't pass a note. He didn't have nothing to say. He was just looking down like, damn. And you know what I will say? I hate suspense. I hate suspense. And I literally said, Diddy must be on hell on earth right now. Why? Because there's a real chance, judging by all the extra things, that you're guilty for 4 of the 5. They found you guilty for at least 2 of the 5 counts. Maybe not Jane, but at least 2 of those 5 counts. They found you guilty. And all you can do is sit there and let your stomach turn and feel sick and disgusted and worried and scared and angry all at the same time. And you can't lash out. You can't hit anybody. You can't have a freak off. You can't drug anybody. You can't tell anybody that you're not going to pay their rent. You can't do any of the ways you use to blow off steam and have hotel nights and cripple someone. You have to sit there and you have to take it. Just like you make Cassie and Jane and every other person sit there and take it. And he had to sit there and take it and know that his fate was that he had no control, that everything about his life, even down to where his body is going to be for the next 20 years, is completely taken away from him. And in that point, I said, this is divine justice. Diddy getting locked up is divine justice. It's too powerful. It's too strong. And you have no choice. You have no choice, and you must take it. And he looked like he was sick because for the first time in a long time in his life, probably back to when he was a kid, and that original trauma, because you can't tell me these freak off fantasies are not some weird trauma. Back to when you was maybe a kid, when you were literally felt so powerless, so abused, so disrespected, that trauma went. You are now 65 years old in the place that you swore you would never be again. There was an interesting interview that I think Diddy did for like VH1 or something, right? VH1, maybe it was Entertainment, Access Hollywood, something like that, where Diddy talked about where he grew up. He said he grew up in places with roaches everywhere. It was poverty, abject, really, really dirty. And he said growing up, that was his thing, where I think I was talking to Shadi, and she was like, I literally went, hey, what's up? Yeah, go ahead. Oh, wait, Migo was aside? Boo, hold on. I have to get off of, do I have to go in the street? Oh. Okay. Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay, so the U.S. Marshals were saying I was too close to the building. You know, they keep their security things, okay, right? But let me just get back. I was talking to Shady, right? And she said there was an interview that Diddy did. I looked it up in this event where he literally said he grew up around where the rats and roaches were. He grew up in a place where he felt completely powerless. He grew up in poverty and this and that. And he said in his life, he said, I'm never going to let this happen again. I'm going to work hard and I'm never going to be this out of control. I'm never going to be this poor. I'm never going to be in a situation where I'm sitting there in a room while roaches are crawling by. And isn't it weird that self-fulfilling prophecy, that when you don't heal what's wrong in you, he now 60 years later, maybe, well, how old is he? 55, 65? I don't know. How old is Diddy? It don't matter. 45 years later, right? Assuming he was 10. He now, through his own self-fulfilling prophecy, is in a room with rats and roaches around him. He is now powerless. He has no control. He doesn't know, and it was all from his choices. He was given a gift, okay? He was given a gift. He knew how to motivate people, excite people, make people feel wonderful about themselves. He knew how to shine the sun on people. He was gifted with the ability to be the sun. And instead, he chose, and instead of using that to pour into people, to uplift people, to help people, to bring joy into people's lives, he decided to use that power to fulfill his sick fantasies. He decided that power to turn the sun on when he felt like it, to use it as an on-off switch. That gift, use it as an on-off switch to truly, truly, truly destroy everything. To truly destroy everything, okay? And to be disgusting. He had a gift that he could have used and made him richer than he ever dreamed, made him happier than he ever dreamed, just by turning the sun on in people's lives. But instead, he chose to use that to be an absolutely creepazoid. And as I sat there in the courtroom, hold on, y'all. Is that better? As I sat there, let me see if I can find the thing. As I sat there in the courtroom and I looked at his kids, and I looked at his kids, and I looked at his mom, and I looked at the way their hearts and their lives will never be the same, and it was crumbling away. And I felt guilty, and I literally had to remember what my mom always told me. This is not our burden to carry. Diddy did this. Diddy did this to himself. And when Diddy thought he got away with it, he continued to do it. So what do you want? He continued to do that. You guys, The jury then came back out. They got sent back to deliberate some more, and then they sent a letter out. They sent a letter out to another letter out saying, yeah, listen, this has been real, but we got to go home. Like, we will talk to you later. And the judge dismissed them for the day. The judge dismissed them for the day, which means that we are getting a verdict one way or the other. We are getting a verdict one way or the other on the Diddy trial. We are getting it tomorrow. Okay. Now, again, this could go all the way to July 3rd. This could go to Monday, but it looks like we are getting a verdict on the Diddy trial tomorrow. And let me just say, right? Let me just say, the energy and the emotion that was flying around that courtroom, the raw emotion and the fact that you had to sit there seeing Diddy sit there, finally feeling the weight of his actions, finally feeling something close to regret. But here's the thing. I don't think somebody sitting sad for a day is regret. People like that, no, they need to sit and stew in it. He felt the closest thing we've ever seen him to self-reflection, right? We saw him sit there in what looked like to be self-reflection, fear, loss of control, and this whole hoopla that his team has been going, the delusion land around these stupid bloggers. And again, I say the saying, he could be found not guilty on all 4 or 5 charges, but it looks like they got him on at least 2 of the 5 charges. And they got him on at least 2 of the 5 charges. Why isn't one of those charges? It should be RICO in there too, because the predicate acts. But as much as they've been trying to gaslight us, let us know it's no big deal. What's the big deal? Everybody does this. It's swinger. It's lifestyle. We saw him finally, like Maureen Comey said, he thought he was a god. He is not a god. He is a man. He is equal to us, and he sits before us in judgment. And it looks like on at least 2 of the 5 things, they found him guilty. Again, going by the judge sheet, going by the verdict sheet, and going by the jury charge sheet. I will say this, which is really, I will say this, which is really, really important. If it is a hung jury, just know that whatever the 4 of the 5 counts are, they can still enter that, and he will get a new trial on whatever is, hold on guys, they will get a new, I'm trying to save my little phone. They will get a new trial on whatever the verdict is. They will get a new trial on whatever, they will get a new trial for whatever the hung jury, the hung part is. So if they can't decide on what hung one, if they can't decide on what count 1 is, that is RICO, guess what happens? They go back to the drawing board. They have a new trial. He is charged for RICO, and if he is found guilty of any of these 4 out of 5 acts that they decided on, they can take those guilty verdicts and enter it into evidence. So it makes finding RICO a lot easier, because it's like, okay, we already know he did the criminal. Now we just got to prove it's RICO. And then I think we will see D-Rock and we will see KK. I do want to say this. I know that the prosecution had a plan. And I saw, just by the way, Gina popped up doing a low budget press junket in front of Whole Foods in Las Vegas. Like, anybody's checking for Gina or Whole Foods in Las Vegas, that Diddy's team is trying to get to the jury. They're trying to taint the jury, okay? Now, sorry. Now, I say all that to say, okay? Diddy's team is trying to get to the jury, but I say that if they retry it again, I do think that the government, if I can offer just, it's not a criticism, because I don't know, the government knows better than me. I think that it might have been a bit of a premature not to have KK and D-Rock testify. I think by bringing in these low-level aides to prove the RICO, I think it made it very, very hard for people to understand what exactly RICO was. I think it made it very, very hard for them to understand that it was RICO. I feel like if you put D-Rock up on there and KK up on there, can I get the umbrella real quick? I think it's coming down. I think if they put D-Rock up there, thank you. I think if they had put D-Rock up there or KK up there, I think it would have been, y'all thought I was going because it was raining. No, I'm still here. I think if they put D-Rock or KK up there, it would have been very, very easy to, I know my umbrella's broken. Look at this. I think it would have been very, very easy for them to actually find a RICO. I really honestly do. If only they had done that, I think it would have been very easy. Or not. I've learned to stop second guessing the government, because them girls in blue know what they are doing. One of the interesting stories that came out, and again, we need a little bit of lighthearted, so I'm just going to read this. We need a little bit of lightheartedness in this. There are reports that, listen, Diddy, who's accused of rugging and raping another man in a chilling new lawsuit, he plans to flee America if he is acquitted. So he's saying he's done with us, and he is going to take his show on the road where I guess it's legal to do whatever he's wanted. Is he moving to Dubai? Even though the Saudi princes can do that, Diddy, not you. The Saudi princes can allegedly do that, not you, Diddy. So we'll see what it is. Anyway, they're saying, as jurors continue to deliberate the fate of Sean Combs, Radar Online can report that Diddy has been hit with a series of new lawsuits and accusations. Diddy has now told friends that if acquitted on the sex trafficking charges, he will flee the country, insisting it doesn't deserve him. And I agree. We don't deserve you, Diddy. Get out of here. But he ain't getting acquitted, baby. The only thing that you are going to flee is from your cell into the commissary to buy some oodles and noodles so that Big Herb don't schedule another freak off for you that night. They said Diddy is currently sitting in federal prison while 8 men and 4 women discuss and debate his future. After nearly 2 months and often graphic testimony, Diddy is awaiting his fate. Meanwhile, Tony Busby has just filed. Oh, and Tony Busby got a big win. He just won with that Alex Spiro stuff. Tony Busby has just filed 3 new lawsuits against Diddy, one of which accuses Diddy of allegedly rugging and assaulting an unnamed man. The second lawsuit alleges another man was assaulted by Diddy, watched, encouraged, and directed activities, and the third is on behalf of a 25-year-old professional from New York who works in the creative media space. He said her case is alleged that in June 2017, wait, if she's 25 years old, in June 2017, how old was she? Just turned 18? Justin lured her to LA under false pretenses and making connections in the entertainment and media industry, and said once there she claimed she was trapped, rugged, held powerless, and raped. Basically the Diddy special. The lawsuit maintains that she's unable to escape. Diddy reportedly looked uneasy as jurors began deliberation. He's reportedly planning his next move, telling those close to him if he's found guilty, he's out of here. Diddy said, listen, Diddy said he's done with America, okay? An insider told Hollywood journalist Rob Shooter, who writes on Substack, he's been talking about Africa, the Middle East. Did I not say Dubai? But Diddy, don't try that stuff in Dubai. Only those Saudi royal families and those sheiks and the Emiratis can do that stuff. You do not have enough money to do that, right? They said they've been talking about Africa, Middle East, or even buying a private island. Anywhere he still feels respected. I don't know. Listen, Diddy led his family in prayer. He knows the stakes that this could all end. Do y'all believe that if Diddy is acquitted, and I don't think he'll be acquitted, but do you believe that he'll actually leave America? I don't believe that. I don't believe it at all. Hold on really quick. Let me answer these questions. Work on Your Business says, thanks for the great reporting and the work that you do. Somebody said he must not pardon to be saying F America. Work on Your Business said, thanks for the great reporting and the work you do. Tisa, oh, greetings from Germany too. You guys, let me read some of these questions. I'm going to read some questions and then I'm going to get to the other stuff that actually happened in the court. Hold on really quick, guys. Okay. What else happened in court? Oh, hold on, I have a lot of questions. Honeybee, thank you. Katrina Kaga Wilson said, if he's found guilty and gets pardoned, does he get to keep his assets? No, he doesn't. Pardon means that you're not, actually, that's a good question. If you're pardoned, can federal forfeiture get you? That's a good question. I have to ask my legal people. If you're found pardoned, can federal forfeiture get you? Good question, Katrina. I'm going to find out. Dr. Flores said he must be not guilty on 2 out of 5 because those are underlying predicates for count 1. Sad day in America. I don't know. They weren't acting like it wasn't not guilty. Carolina Brun, thank you so much. Carrie Pierce at T's, I've been waiting for the tea. Here's the thing. There is a thing that they found him not guilty for 4 out of the 5, but they weren't acting like that. They weren't acting like. Phil Lewis said, is the verdict in? Not yet. Well, they have it on 4 out of 5 counts. Jay Garcia said, As an SA survivor, I've been so grateful to watch you advocate for justice in this trial. I will never get justice, but I appreciate you out there trying to get it. Peter Pan 13, thank you so much for the super chat. Will Wallace said, I feel very bad for Diddy's children. Things will never be the same. I also feel really bad for Cassie's parents. She will never be the same. Dude effed up for real. Yeah, exactly. Cassie is a beautiful mother. She's a loving mother, but she's also a mother that's going to have to deal with addiction for the rest of her life. People joke about that 30 million. I'm sure if she could take the money back, she would give it back because Cassie was already going to have a beautiful life and a beautiful career before Diddy came and derailed it. Colleen said, I'm so happy for all that you do. I love how your career will skyrocket. Thank you. And you'll always make the time for the fam first. Of course, I will always make time for y'all. TJ said, TMZ said he could get 4 years. He could get 4 years for the first offense. Okay, shut up. What's he talking about? 4 years? Maybe TMZ. Maybe, right? Be Cole. But TJ, listen, TMZ is always softballing Diddy. They're on the payroll. Be Cole, thank you so much. Be Cool, thank you so much for the super chat. Miss Matrix Metaphor said, Sissy, there's a ton of Diddy bots up in here. Girl, preach. F them Diddy bots. Go ahead and spend your last penny. Forget those Diddy bots. And maybe they're real people, but at the end of the day, your king has fallen. Darlene Payne, thank you so much for the super chat. DL Loads Design said, if they agree not guilty and proven on 2 of the 5, then why would they deliberate over 1? Wouldn't they all agree not proven guilty? Exactly. Again, that's the only thing that makes me nervous. But then the way the defense was acting and the way the jury was acting, I don't know, that didn't look like people that did a not guilty verdict. It just didn't. Phil Lewis said, Tisa, what exactly prompted this line? What just happened permed? What just happened permed? I don't know. What just happened permed? I don't know what that means. Phil Lewis said, what just happened to prompt this line? I just got out of court. I just saw all this stuff. That's what prompted this live. Amelia Amy Kip Scholes, thank you so much for the super chat. Coco Cami said, my guess they're having a hard time with RICO because no other person is charged. They will likely find him guilty with more deliberation. I think if they press them to find the answer, they might find him guilty. Again, nothing is promised. I'm super nervous, but I'm being honest with you. The jury, the energy, the way the family was acting, this didn't look like somebody that was not guilty. Unless they said to tell everybody to act sad so it's so much sweeter. Pam Bassett said Trump will not give him a pardon. Busby is one of Trump's biggest donors, so they can cancel the pardon. Diddy is going to prison. Perhaps. Desiree Martin. Well, I think he's going to prison. I don't know about the Busby thing. Does he give Trump that much money? Trump is president of the United States. Desiree Martin, thank you for becoming a Title Tall MVP. Melissa Buta said jurors asked for transcripts and quickly said they have verdicts on counts 2 through 5. They totally found him guilty. Thank you for the amazing updates, Tisa. Melissa, from your lips to God's ears. Talk metaphysics with Tamala. I would like to do that very much. Said Tisa, yes, I'm weathering through the wind for you guys. That jury needs to come on. They know he's guilty. Exactly. Tawanda Allen said, great job on reporting, Tisa. Keep up the good God's work. Thank you. Oh, also, I have profiles for all the jurors. I'm going to read those in a second, okay? Breezy said, Praying Dittler, a.k.a. Tuchiro, gets life. It's all there. Yes. Peng said, I think they went guilty on 4 out of 5, but can't get to RICO because they don't believe Jane. If they don't believe her, the statute of limitations would apply. Good point, but if they have a hung jury, they can actually get KK and D-Rock in next time. Elle said, so if he's not guilty on RICO, does the other charges get dropped too? No. And a new trial has to be had? No. They already decided 4 of the counts. There's 5 counts. They decided 4 of them. They'll only do a new trial on whatever they couldn't decide on. Valentine, what's up, girl? Said justice for all victims. Mom, same. Yes, love you all. And Sasha Joe said, hi, Tees. I'm so surprised that Diddy and the defense are acting as if there is a guilty verdict on counts 2 to 5. It seems obvious that the jury likely chose not guilty if they're stuck on count 1. Listen, Sasha Joe, that's the way they were acting. Again, it is odd. This whole thing is odd. We will see. But I am telling you, it was like a funeral in there. It was like a funeral. MJ Law said, I hope the ghost of B.I.G. haunts him in his cell. Also, Potent Pondering said, Tisa, you need a book. Maybe. Listen. Also, Irene Tubman, thank you so much for the super chat. really quick. Alejandro Arjanda, people, thank you. Oh, Be More Cutio 5 said, been watching since the beginning like Netflix, so here's the subscription funds. Thank you. I think they definitely found him guilty on at least 2 of the 5 and hung verdict on 1 because of juror number 25. That could be it too. Miss Caroline said, it's too hot. It is, and human, and I left, and then they reached a partial verdict. It's time. The proof is in the pudding. Stay cool. Thank you. Get this. Dallas S., thank you so much for the super chat. Fox Ruse said, Tisa, your coverage has been amazing. Thank you. LMCA, thank you. Anna P said, thanks for all you do. And KJNQVC said, Tisa, why is the mofo crying? He never cared about the victims till. Celebrate, Tisa, because you deserve it. He's done. Yes, much love. Listen, I want that verdict in. Theodore Fields, thank you so much. I get your point, KJV, but I'm KJN, but I want that verdict in. Shaka Leah said, will he get sentenced on the 4 charges alone? If found, yes. Yes, he will get sentenced on the 4 and they'll retry him for RICO. Miss Matrix Metaphor says, thank you, support Tisa in the super chat she's doing. Daily free for us all. Exactly. Thank you. Eileen Bell, thank you so much. Also, Natalia said, just sending something small. Oh, thank you, especially since you're out there in the heat and rain. Cindy Evans says, you're the bravest person I ever met. Oh, thank you. Buttercream, thank you. Philip Fabry, thank you for the memberships. Make sure y'all thank him for gifting that. Hura Shed said, it's Raymond. Your eye took okay. Thank you. Thank you, Hura. Lay Mike, thank you so much. Charlene Conway, thank you for the super chat. Real Bell said, it's me, Roxy Craig. It was so nice to meet you too. It was so much nice to meet y'all too. Marie M said, Tisa, I'm on pins and needles. I hope there's justice. Thanks for bringing us all together. You're a community builder. Love from your Filipino American auntie in Oakland, California. Don't tempt me to come visit you. Okay, so get this. There's new information, and I'm going to read that in a second, that Mark Agnifilio via TMZ seems to be putting out. Philip Fabry, thank you so much. Brittany Amaya said, once they decide on charges 2 to 5, it's locked in, or can they go back and change their mind? No, it's locked in. It's locked in. It's locked in. Lay Mike, thank you so much for the super chat. Mindy Freed, welcome to the family. Love others. Thank you. Rosie Method said, he's 55, mama, more like a 4-year-old child of the devil. Exactly. Let's be honest. Welcome to the fam. Let's be honest. Thanks for the chat. Patricia Staten, thank you. It's Heaven said, I heard people talk about how sad young his daughters are, but I haven't heard anyone say those young girls are the same age as Cassie was when they started preying on her. And you're doing that. Thank you. Oh my gosh, thank you. And hey, Nay Hari, but you're right. Cassie was young too. I'll be done in like 10 minutes, right? Okay, thanks. Cassie was done, was very young too. Nay Hirako said, your energy and you look awesome. Oh, thank you so much, Nay. I appreciate you. Okay, so listen, there's new information coming in. This is directly from TMZ, so you know this is coming from Diddy's camp because it's coming from TMZ, all right? Harvey Levin from TMZ Theory has a TMZ theory, and it's that Mark Agnifilio is praying for a hung jury. And he's afraid that if the judge pushes the jury even a little bit with the Allen charge is when they say, you guys are the best equipped to decide this. Even if we get a new jury, they're not going to decide better than you. So you decide. So even if they push the jury even a little bit with the Allen charge or any additional instructions, it'll make the holdout jurors actually feel like they have to give a verdict. Mark Agnifilio, they said, is banking on, without any additional instructions, that the holdout jurors will become more entrenched and they won't feel any pressure about folding on a verdict. However, Judge Aaron already addressed that, and Judge Aaron said, we're going to try it your way, Mark. If they still don't have anything by tomorrow, we're going to press them with the Allen and tell them you need to come up with something, okay? So that's something super, super interesting that comes out. So Mark Agnifilio thinks that if the judge even pushes the jury a little bit, hold on, I get a breeze. Mark Agnifilio, oh, that's even better light. Mark Agnifilio feels like if the judge even pushes the people even a little bit, that it is going to result in a guilty trial. Well, they're going to decide on the RICO. So Mark Agnifilio doesn't want to put them, and he wants a hung jury, okay? Also, and Diddy's defense does not think the Southern District of New York will exert any energy to retry the case just for a RICO charge, as long as they get a guilty verdict on the other counts. Now, I happen to think that it actually might be true. Marcy Sancho said, Tisa, get rest. It's a big day tomorrow. That's true. Robin Bridges said, Tisa, love to see you do your thing. So entertaining and informative. Thank you. Just Trina 333. Thank you so much for the super chat. Slainer, said, Tisa, I think you're wonderful and you deserve all the blessings coming your way. I'm going to miss your lives every day during the trial. Don't worry, I'll do lives. Hold on, guys. I need to get my fan. I am melting out here. I'm going to do lives for other days. Where's my fan? Where is my fan? Here we go. I'm going to do lives for other days, okay? Whew, it is so humid out here. AM, welcome to the Title Tells family. Also, Von Swala said my news station just played the clip of him hitting and dragging Cassie. Exactly. Valorino Caro said, did he have an earpiece in? I didn't see an earpiece, actually. B, thank you for deleting that message. Sharina Wilson said, since there's a possibility of a guilty verdict for RICO count 1, then the jury must have found him guilty of at least 2 of the predicate acts. Strange. Well, here's the thing. They could have found him guilty of the smack tracker thing, but they can't agree on any of the other predicate acts. But if the judge pushes them, they should be able to agree. Mar said 20K in the chat. Everybody liked. You guys, thank you so much, Mar. Double tap that screen. Show me some love. Eileen Bell. You guys, listen. Turn your notifications on and subscribe. Tomorrow, I'm going to be in the courtroom bright and early. I'm going to be there at the exact moment they read the verdict. I'm going to be here running down, giving you guys the real on what's actually going on. I will be there. I will be there. Also, Marva King, thank you so much for the super chat. The Fight Fan, thank you for the super chat. Jupiter said, love your hard work, thank you. Pam Bassett said, Busby donated 500K to the Trump campaign inauguration committee. Love you, Tisa, you're doing a great job. Okay, that's a lot of money, but Pam, I think now that Trump is president, I don't think that 500K is hitting the way it used to in 2000 whatever. Jella Vaught said, I'm a survivor and I've been sick to my stomach for the last 2 hours. I pray there's a verdict tomorrow on all charges guilty. Gina Patterson said, love you. You are the best. Clever Girl said, well done. We appreciate the coverage. Thank you. TJ said, jury looks sad due to him being not guilty. I don't think that's what it was. I don't think there were, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. There were quite a few, not quite a few, but there were a few people, a handful of people on the jury that I think were big fans of Diddy and they were Diddy Glazers. I'm telling you, I don't think. Jesus Baby Girl said, the family and attorneys don't know what the verdict is. So my guess is he's ready for the worst. Have a new umbrella, lol. Thank you, Jesus Baby Girl. Angela Soderholm, thank you so much for the super chat. Monica Sherry, thank you. The Fight Fan said, hi, Tisa, you're going places. Thank you so much. Brittany Amaya said, I'm stressed out about this. I can barely see. I'm stressed out too. Oh, please said, your fan is life. Thank you. Monica Flo said, love you, Tisa. The sky's the limit. I know that's right. Goldie526 said, love you, Tisa. Get some water and fruit on me. Love you, girl. Yeah, I need to get a smoothie. I am dehydrated. Angela Sloterholm said, sending love from Sweden. Oh, thank you. Thank you for your hard work and keeping us informed. How was Sweden? Should I go visit there? Ralph Allen, thank you for the super chat. We're well, thank you. Alexandria said, thank you so much, Tisa, for everything you do and advocate for victims. Let's hope survivors get justice. Absolutely. And also, Lee said, hey, Tisa, I hope you have an umbrella. It's thundering here in Queens. Here's a little change. Thank you. Sorry. Oh, you don't ever have to apologize. Thank you. We deserve. Thank you so much, Lee. And don't ever thank you. Thank you for even giving me your time and attention. So let me just read this one more time. This is hot off from TMZ. Okay, just in case you didn't buy it, this is late breaking hot off it, okay? Harvey Levin from TMZ, who is deep in Diddy's camp, has a theory that Mark Agnifilo is praying for a hung jury. He's afraid that if the judges pushes a jury even a little bit with an Allen charge or any additional instructions, it will make the holdout jurors actually feel like they have to have a verdict. Mark is banking on, without any additional instructions, that the holdout jurors will become more entrenched and won't feel any pressure about folding for a verdict. And Diddy's defense does not think that SDNI will exert any energy into retrying the case just for a RICO charge, as long as they get a guilty verdict on other counts. Anyway, it's an interesting theory, right? But again, it's an interesting theory. Crystal Carlson, thank you so much for the super chat. And Authentic said, yay, finally called alive to send you a little change. Oh, thank you. We will hang at some point in real life. We're connected. Friends outside of my head. That's right, Authentic. And Sunshine said, thank you for your live coverage. Thank y'all so much. I really appreciate all that you guys do. Okay? I really appreciate it. Okay? So anyway, you guys, listen, let me get out of here. I have to it's literally about to start thunderstorming. Let me get out of here. I'm going to hit you guys up. I'm going to try to go live later, but I'm going to put up a bunch of videos too. All right? We are right there. Lock in. Turn subscriptions on because we are subscriptions. notifications on, because we are locked in for verdict, and it looks like the verdict is coming down tomorrow. Okay, so I'll see you guys later on tonight. Make sure you turn your notifications on. Mwah! I'll talk to you guys later. Bye, bye.